We are recording. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you. I'm excited because we're going to wrap up and put a beautiful bow on top of your money management system today. And I encourage you to ask lots of questions, even if it's like, where do I start? And why haven't I started? That's totally fine. We're here to help you, and it's just up to you to speak up. And then it's my job to tease it out of you and help you be on your way. So let's take a moment to just stop and acknowledge and celebrate any abundance that's found its way to you this week. So let me know in the chat box what beautiful things have happened to you this week that you just want to stop. Maybe you didn't even stop at the time, but this is your chance to go, oh yeah, there was that, and there was that, and there was that. And just again, making sure we cultivate that habit to actually notice all the good things that are going on for us, including financial abundance. And it's just a habit. It's a habit that unfortunately sometimes beaten out of us, and it's our job to get back into it. And as we do, we actually create a really rich life, both internally and externally. So while you're doing that, just a quick heads up, I will make sure that the reminder emails say it loud and clearly. Next week's call will be 1 hour later than usual. We've got the Infinite Possibilities Conference with Mike Dooley, and he wasn't keen to change his schedule just for me. So, we'll just start 1 hour later than usual, which makes it 11 o'clock Sydney and something, I think, East Coast 5 o'clock for the US and West Coast 2 o'clock. Sound right? Is it 6 p.m. for you right now? Now, anyway, you guys will work it out. An hour later than today, and then our usual time. The one thing that I'm not sure we can change is the bleeding Facebook event, because we set them up as a recurring weekly thing, and you can't just change one of them, apparently. So just ignore that. I'll make sure there's lots of posts going up to remind you, and that the reminder posts and the reminder emails are all, just constantly reiterating that. Otherwise, you'll be here all by yourself an hour early. And I said, I got moved out of my office at my day job and into a shared office with a colleague that I get on with like a house on fire. Yay for being surrounded with beautiful people. That's so good. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're having a time change as well over there. So that's why I try not to. I tried all the things over the years, and I've realized that the best thing for me to do with the time thing is just stick with my time and let each person figure out their time, because I cannot do it. It's just too much. Government's in the process of correcting an error made on my OS payment. Beautiful. Claire says, I love the fact that I needed to organise a specialist appointment yesterday. And of course, there was a significant out of pocket, which they're good enough to tell you about when you book. Love that it was a total non-event where the out of pocket costs are irrelevant. Yes. Awesome. Abundance gifted a family heirloom piano. Woo! Just a little thing. Nice. Jackie got a rare day all to herself. She put the puppy in doggy daycare, the new baby. Anna did her tax and she's getting a refund. Catherine won a $50 Amazon voucher. Yes, she did. What you gonna get? What you gonna get? What else? I think I made it through all of them. Beautiful. Good stuff. $50 pet food voucher. There you go. Love it. All right. So next week we start an hour later. Also next week we're, like I said, today is the last day that we're talking about money management, but we can talk about anything on any call. So don't think that, oh no, we finished that topic. I'm moving through the modules and kind of focusing on one each call, but you can ask a question about anything. Even if you think, oh, is this even related to magnetic money? Give it a try. I'll tie it together. That's my job as well. So we're back to talking about visualization and then congruence, and then we're going to have a little break. So we'll go back to wrapping up all the, I guess, the energetic things side of things, and then we'll have a 1 week break because it's my birthday and I'm going to take the week off, and we need a break. We need a break somewhere in there. And then we'll talk about old money story, new money story, and all that awesome stuff. So that's what's happening. Now, before we get into it today, I'm going to just ask Claire to share a little bit about and just talk a little bit about that beautiful offer that she put in the group for everybody.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you, Miriam. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Claire Kerslake and I'm an EFT practitioner, and I work mainly with women in business, although not exclusively with women in business. And a lot of it's around money and what we do in magnetic money and where we get stuck. And often as women, we tend to blame ourselves, don't we? Why aren't I doing what it is I know to do? Instead of realizing, look, there's some resistance getting in there. And probably one of my biggest bugbears is, feel the fear and do it anyway. And that often leads to us trying to push through with gritted teeth. And then we procrastinate even more. So much better to just clear what's getting in the way. And then we often forget it was even a problem. So my offer today is for it's actually rolling it out for Black Friday, but you won't see it generally. A 3-session package with me for $555, all Aussie dollars, which is great news for anyone overseas. And also a single session if you think, oh no, one session will be fine, for $195, which is my pre-price rise rate. So just PM me, send me a PM or tag me in the group, or I'd love to hear from you and support you. I've been in magnetic money I looked the other day, it was 6 years. So the work I do is very much aligned, and this is a program that will literally change your life. And I think I'm testament to that. And so if I can support you to, keep going through it and not get stuck, that's wonderful. But it doesn't have to be related to magnetic money either. So that's a bit about me. Any questions, just send me a PM.
Yeah. Thanks, Claire. Thank you so much. Claire is a wonderful magnetic money ambassador and leader, and just a great example of the beautiful results you get to reap when you persevere through those tough times. So thank you. And Claire, you're always happy to share your stories and everything that's been going on with you. And for those who don't know, Claire's modality is EFT tapping. I'm not sure you said that.
Oh, unless my sorry if I didn't say that.
In case you didn't know that.
Thank you for adding that in.
Yeah, which is another beautiful way of, working with the unconscious in a really easy, elegant, painless way. So, yeah. Thank you, Claire. Really appreciate it. I also, just before we get started and talk about today's hashtag momentum, I want to make sure if you haven't seen it, on the back of last week's call, in Anna's accountability circle at the end, they started talking about, how to bring your partner on board and how to deal with your partner if they're not super supportive or getting it, or they're getting sick of you rattling on about magnetic money and, what is this anyway? And Anna did this really great video about it in our Facebook group. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. Anna's an amazing coach, and she also used to specialize in relationship coaching. So she is, and she's been on her own journey with the whole, what do I do about the partner, and how do we, like I'm learning and I'm shifting and changing. How do I bring that into the relationship? So much so that I said, Anna, you need to turn that into like a workshop or a webinar or something, because there's so much gold in that. So go watch that. It's just in our Facebook group. You'll find it. I also did another little video on accelerator payments, because I was getting paranoid that people were slightly misunderstanding what I was talking about. Yes, you can absolutely use it for those discretionary things, that are, because I use the word seasonal, and then people are like, yeah, for Christmas and, for summer holidays. I'm like, yeah, those are seasons. But what I really want to make sure you understand is I'm talking about those expenses that are not regular monthly expenses, but that happen, maybe once a quarter or once a year, that you can't get out of, and you're going to have the money there to pay for them. And accelerator payments are really helpful in making sure that when you're first getting set up with your money management system, that you're not going to get to that point where that annual expense or quarterly expense is due and go, oh shit, I haven't got enough money. Or you pay it and then there's not enough for other things, right? So that's actually an area where back when I worked in finance, I saw people like have really horrible results because they had outsourced their money management, which don't even get me started on the horrors of that, putting some stranger in charge of your money and giving you pocket money like your little 5-year-old, and charging your fortune for it and screwing up your credit rating in the process because they were just consistent. Like I kept seeing people who were consistently in arrears on their mortgage. It was just always being paid late because they never actually did the, setting it up correctly for that first one to go through in time. So all the subsequent ones could go through in time. So it's a really helpful little thing to be aware of. If you miss it, then you'll have a oopsie moment and you'll have to, make an adjustment at the time. But if you preempt it and set up some accelerator payments, then that, just helps you avoid having any of those whoopsie moments. So if you're still not sure about it, or it's something where like, I need to sit with somebody who takes me by the hand and like really explains this, talk to one of our certified coaches. That's their job, to sit with you and actually go through your planner with you and help you make sure it's all set up correctly and that you catch all of those beautiful things. So let me know, for those of you who are here live on the call, and if you're watching the recording, hello, let me know in the Facebook group. What questions have you got so far? Is there, and it doesn't have to be particular to setting up your money system, but that's usually where there's a bit of, maybe lack of clarity or confusion, or I've got something unusual I feel is unusual. How do I do that again? So let me know in the chat box if you've got any questions, or what is it that you need to get clearer on. If you don't have any questions, just tell me what is it you need to get clearer on when it comes to specifically setting up your money management system. So question, if you don't have a question, tell me what's the one thing you need to kind of fine tune or get clearer on. Just taking a moment for that. Hello, Savannah. And while people are typing in the chat box, for those of you who joined us a little bit late, heads up, next week's call starts 1 hour later than usual. 1 hour later than usual. So whatever time it was for you today, next week, only next week, 1 hour later. All right. I want to hear if you've got a question, something specific that you need help with. You may have a question by the end of the call today. And if you don't have a specific question, just tell me what's something that you need to get a little bit clearer about when it comes to your money management system. Just so I get a feel for where you're all at and make sure that I address anything that pops up. Oh, yes, you can ask about the workshop on the 14th. Do you want me to tell you about it, or do you have a specific question? Just tell you about it?
I guess both.
So if you're a Magnetic Money Club member, it's free for you to attend. It is, we're going to workshop through the limiting belief busting process, which actually isn't in Magnetic Money, but it's one of your bonuses. So you've got access to it. It's just people forget. So every now and then I run a live workshop and we actually go through the process. And it's a really simple process where you're prompting your unconscious with questions that bring to the surface what is the limiting belief that's actually causing whatever you feel is kind of getting in your way, and then to start to shift it. So that's what that is. Does that answer your question, Isha?
Yep. So we can just jump on. I think I registered. So
you need to register. Yeah. you need
would
to
drop a
register.
notification.
Yeah. Make sure you register. There's a couple more reminders coming through, but make sure you click the link to register, because then you'll get the link to come on the workshop and the actual reminder emails just before. But it's on the 14th which is a Thursday, so day before Magnetic Money Call, same as our standard Magnetic Money Call.
Yeah, so I think I clicked the link and it registered, and it said to me, you have been registered for this. So that means I'm in. I don't have to get people.
Yeah. You would have gotten a confirmation email saying, here's the Zoom link, here's a link to put it in your calendar and all of that.
Okay, I better go check if that's come through. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. If not, you'll get another reminder email, don't worry.
All right. Okay, all good. Thanks.
Good stuff. Okay, and no current question from Jack, but I think I'll make a time with a coach to go through my setup and get clear about accelerator payments. Yep, cool. And that's a really good idea, especially if you feel like, things keep popping up that I feel like I haven't fully accounted for, then that may be an issue, or it could be something different that you just haven't seen yet. So it is good to sit with somebody who can give you that fresh set of eyes and just do a little audit. Maybe that's all you want, just a little audit to go, right, does this all make sense? What's been going on? Do I need a hand? Or as in, do I need to adjust anything? I need to start, it says Lena. Cool. Yep. Do have others created by my accountant, but I need to transfer details. Micro goals. Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. I'll talk about it in a moment, but do you have a specific question about it? It is on my list to just cover again. Just unmute yourself. It's easier than typing.
It is, that's right. So is that all related to financial, or do you just make micro goals? Like, what are micro goals? Are they
very good?
Do shopping next week or buy a new dress, or what?
Okay, no, it's not those sorts of goals. So actually, which I'm glad you asked the question. So let me actually I'll just check. I'll go through it in the order that I'm going to go through it, because it'll probably help make more sense to you that way anyway. But that's good that you're telling me what your question is, because, when you're teaching, it's easy to assume people get what you're talking about, because I know what I'm talking about. It's clear to me, right? So it's really great when you guys ask me questions, because it helps me realize that it's not always as clear as I think, or, people come at it with different interpretations or different kind of, background things. And so it's really helpful. So please ask me questions. Don't ever hesitate about asking me questions. So I will address that in a moment. That's awesome. Anything else? I can't see anything else in the chat box at the moment, but that doesn't mean someone's not going, hang on, I'm still finishing typing. So just want to give it a moment. What I'll do in the meantime, I end up with too many things on the screen. Let me just talk through. Sorry, Len, I'm just going to mute you again. Sorry, it just made me laugh. I was on an Infinite Possibilities crew call the other day, and a couple of people forgot to mute themselves. So one woman suddenly screamed into the microphone, like at her husband, who was doing something in the background, to shut the fuck up, which was very funny. So we all cracked up. And then somebody else, when they were talking, their microphone was really loud, and then they muted themselves, and we kept going with the call. And then at some random point later on, they didn't realize they had unmuted themselves, and they're just going, testing, 1, 2, 3. We just all burst out laughing. I love those things. Oh dear. Okay, let me just show you this. But yes, the woman that told her husband to shut the fuck up because she couldn't hear herself think. That was definitely my favorite. Okay, this is basically what we've been going through, in case you didn't realize. So it is really helpful, if you haven't done this process of setting up your money management system before, to go through the boot camp and to ideally get the book as well, because the book chapter by chapter will take you through this setup. And, in Magnetic Money, in the 3 modules, we kind of group things together a little bit. But then in the boot camp, it takes you through it step by step, and you actually get worksheets to help you with each step. So that's why I keep telling you, to go look at the boot camp. It's a really helpful tool to have. And I will pop in a minute, I'll pop in the chat one of the boot camp worksheets, because I actually want to spend some time just playing with it and doing a practice exercise together. So M is mapping it out. So that's when we set up our buckets and our bank accounts. That's where we started. A is for adjust course. That's when we start looking at, we've dumped the numbers in the plan and we go, okay, oh, shivers, do I spend that much money on, entertainment? Or, oh, wow, my electricity bill looks really high. It's all those sorts of things. And you start making those adjustments. G is getting clear on your number one current financial priority. And that's where the micro goals come in. So I'll go into that in a little more detail in a moment. And then N is where you actually adjust your planner and you go, okay, well, I know what my baseline income needs to be. And remember, we talked about that. That's like, okay, this is just for me to cover all my bills, pay myself, cover my tax. And it's like, sort of the baseline. This is my baseline target when I know that everything's good. And so, that may be what you set your planner up for initially, because you just want to hit baseline income. Or you might look at that and go, oh, no, I usually make more than baseline income. So then you start looking at the magic number and you start building in more of that wealth creation stuff. So you might go, okay, well, let's put in enough money to make sure that the car loan gets paid off within the next 14 months. Or let's make sure we put in enough money to make sure that we've saved for that renovation we want to do within this period of time, right? So that's your target. So it's up to you to look at your planner, look at, last week we looked at, and we can go through it again quickly now. And of course, it's all in the boot camp in more specific detail for you as well. But I do go through it in the Magnetic Money module too. Look at your planner and look at, to cover all those expenses up top. How much does my business need to generate? Make sure you use the calculator that includes tax and what you're paying yourself so that you work out your actual gross income target for your business and go, okay, to cover all the base expenses, this is how much I need to bring in. And then you'll look at that number and you'll look at what you generally earn. And I always say, do an average of maybe the last 6 months even, especially if your business is a little bit more seasonal. Average it out. Don't just look at last month. Last 6 months is good. I always like to share that when I first started my finance business, because I was starting from scratch, I promised myself I would never panic unless the last 6 months average was a problem. I wanted to see growth, but I would never just look at this month, because that's really short-term focus and it makes you lose perspective. So I would always look at my last 6 months average and go, right, am I making progress? Am I heading in the right direction? And if I was making progress, awesome. And, I did set goals and targets and so on, but I never, ever just based a decision or a reaction on what happened this 1 month. So back to N. So N is where you decide, this is the target, the income target for my business. I am going to plug into my planner because I feel like it's a reasonable number. And yes, maybe sometimes I'll be a bit under, but that's what we're talking about today. Like, how do you smooth that cash flow when you don't quite hit that target? So you put that number in your planner. And then E is make it easy, like automate as many things as possible, get your bills automatically debited, transfers between your own accounts, not tax. Don't automatically transfer tax because it'll vary depending how much income you brought in. And so that's one of the manual things. But as many things that kind of happen regularly that don't really change, just automate them, make them easy. Still check them, still keep an eye on things, but you don't have to sit there micromanaging every dollar. Now, today we're going to talk about T, I, and C. So how to track your income to smooth your cash flow. So we want to track your progress, not your expenses. Your expenses, we've put into the planner, we've set up the buckets, we've set up the accounts. You can automate some things in the background, and you shouldn't have to keep like worrying about micromanaging every dollar to pay your bills. That should be automated. What I want you to focus on is your income and celebrating that, smoothing the cash flow, and tracking and celebrating your progress. So what we do for most people who have like a coaching or a practitioner type business, well, you do this weekly. You track how much money came in, and this is where we're going to do a practical exercise, and I'll give you the worksheet in a minute. You track what came in and you distribute it to smooth the cash flow. And then once you've hit and ticked the micro goal, which I'll talk about in more detail in a moment as well, you iterate. You go, okay, what's my next micro goal? Like, I've ticked that goal, I've achieved that little target that I had, and maybe it was pay off that credit card, or pay back my mum the money that she said I didn't have to pay her back, but I really want to. Or it's get my buffer to 3 months or 6 months living expenses, like whatever that micro goal is that you've been focusing on. When you achieve it, you need to replace it. You need to go, okay, what's my next goal? You don't just go, oh, well, that's it then, I'm done. And the money just starts disappearing. No, you want to always have one focus at a time, one micro goal where every spare dollar that's not needed in your planner goes towards that goal, goes towards accelerating that goal. That is the trick here. So that's making sure that you tick a goal, you get the new goal in there, and then it's, all hands on deck towards that. It's always focusing on one goal at a time, and that's how things speed up. That's how you actually also get magnetic, and money just suddenly starts rolling in, and you know exactly what it's going towards because you've got a really clear goal, and it's always one at a time. And then every time you achieve a goal, you celebrate and you plan that up front. And that's actually in your goals tracker, which is the next screen I'm going to share. It's actually in there because you need to plan that up front, because if you're like most people, you'll go, oh yeah, anyway, that's nice that I just achieved that. What's next? And you forget to stop and actually celebrate. And that's why I get you to celebrate and acknowledge and just stop to go, what good things just happened this past week on every single call? Because it's easy to always be forward focused, which is lovely, but it can leave us in a perpetual state of kind of dissatisfaction, because we're always wanting the next thing and the next thing. And as we talked about on our very first call, when you achieve a goal, it feels a bit meh sometimes because you've evolved, you've changed, and for you that's natural and normal now. It doesn't feel like a big deal anymore because you are the person who doesn't have credit card debt. You are the person who makes this level of income consistently. You are now the person who has, 6 months of living expenses as a buffer in the bank and doesn't have to stress and worry what if something happens. Right? You are now that person. So it doesn't feel as big of a deal as when you're not that person and you desperately want to be that person. Does that make sense? And so that's why it's so important to decide up front what you're going to do to celebrate achieving a goal and to actually do it. Like, don't cheat yourself out of this, because this is one of the secret ingredients in the magnetic money management system that not just helps you organize your money, smooth your cash flow, and achieve your goals, but it also makes you magnetic to more because you're consistently celebrating how abundant you are, that you are progressing, you're acknowledging it, like you're training your unconscious and you're normalizing your vibrational state, your body chemistry to that level of abundance. So talking about micro goals. So we talked last week about, wealth creation plan. And these are the sorts of things that, this is your plan, all right? So you have all of this. So these are the usual things on the list. I want to get rid of some personal debts. I want to have a buffer, whether it's a personal one or a business one. I want to maybe invest in growing my business. I want to save for a home deposit or a bigger house or a new house or a renovation or whatever it is. I want to build up some investment funds. I want to boost my retirement funds. I want to pay off my house. I want to, top up my retirement fund. Like, that's a lot of stuff. And so you've got to start somewhere. But the thing is that these are really big, chunky things. And so the numbers associated with them might be really big as well. So that's why we have micro goals, because you might say, okay, right now, hang on, let me type in here. I'm just going to keep it really broad. Just maybe say personal debt. Right now I've actually got 25K in personal debt. So if you set that as your goal and you just focus on that, you're going to get tired. You're going to get you're going to get itchy feet because it'll take a long time. And you might go, well, at the same time, I already have a bit of a buffer, but I want to build my buffer. And I might want to build it to have another 20 grand in there, right? And so you've got these two things that are both important to you, and they're both sort of big chunky numbers. So that's why we want micro goals. So you might go, okay, compound interest, if you watch the modules, we want it working for you, not against you. So generally speaking, we focus on clearing debt, especially expensive debt like credit cards. So you might go, okay, reduce credit card. Sorry, I can't see my keyboard because my microphone's in the way. And you might just go, okay, I'm just going to reduce it by $5,000. And I'm going to do that by, I don't know, January 25 or whatever you decide. And then here you track and you go, oh, shit, I actually smashed it in December. And yeah, it feels bloody amazing. And you decide how you're going to celebrate. So this one here, you put in up front. So you might go, I'll just go and have a massage. If I don't know how to celebrate, it's always like a massage. A massage is always a good start. But here you can go, okay, first what I'm going to do is reduce my credit card, and then I'll build my buffer by 5 grand, right? And then I'll reduce the credit card by another 5 grand. So you can switch between different goals, but at any given moment, at any moment in time, you're focusing on one thing, one micro goal. And you can kind of lay it out in here. Don't try to go too far ahead because things change, but just always know what your next one is going to be and how you're going to celebrate. So let me just check in with Lena. If you could please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense?
Yes. So it's about moving one step at a time towards a big goal, like chunk it down, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, that's exactly what it is. So what we'll do, does anybody else have any questions just while we're talking about that? Where's my meeting? Everyone good? Any comments, any experiences around setting goals, chopping them up into micro goals? Did anybody maybe have an experience where they realized their goal was like a too chunky a goal and they got bored and tired and started just forgetting about it because it was taking too long? Because that's usually what happens. If you have something that's too big, it starts feeling like, oh, this is taking forever. And we get distracted and we start focusing on other things. So by chunking it down into micro goals, it keeps you really engaged, it keeps you really excited, and it keeps you moving forward. And celebrating every little milestone really helps keep that energy high. Make sense? Cool. All right. So what I'm going to do, we're going to play with, okay, well, how does this actually work? Because we've got a planner. And maybe your micro goal can actually be built into your planner. That's why this number's here, extra funds for wealth creation. So let's go with this example where I said, okay, first thing we're going to do is reduce the credit card by $5,000. And you might go, well, I reckon I can put at least $50 a week towards it. No worries. And that's what I'll base my planner on top of whatever the normal payment is. Maybe it's only, I don't know, $20 a week and everything else you've got in there, right? And so you may or may not, depending where you're at, have this money. And so this money here will keep building over time, how much you've got available for wealth creation, because we keep it all in the same bucket, remember? So once that credit card's paid off, you're not going to have $50 up there in this example, you'll actually have $70 up there. And so it builds over time. But in addition to doing that, to keeping all the money that is like the whatever we've decided to base our planner on, in addition to keeping all that money in the wealth creation bucket, we're also going to put any surplus money towards that number one goal. And that's why it's important to just go through this little 5-minute process on a regular basis, ideally weekly for most of you. And that's what I want us to practice. So let me just stop that share. I'm going to pop the worksheet in the chat box for you guys. It's work. So this is a worksheet from the bootcamp, right? This is actually the final worksheet in the Magnetic Money Management Bootcamp that you all have access to. There are four workshops, like recorded workshops with the worksheets. So you can literally take yourself through that process in real time. Sorry, it's taking a little while to upload, getting there. And in case, hey, Gelly, saw your beautiful face pop up. Great to see you. In case you don't have your planner handy, just so that you can play along, what I'll do is I will actually just give you, if I can find it, I'll give you this, which is just those two little calculators that we're looking at today. So if you need that as well, if you don't have your planner handy, then we'll use that. Now, let me do a time check. Okay, I'm going to just spend 10 minutes having a little play with this. And this is kind of, we're doing what's in the bootcamp workshop. But this is important. And this is like the really magical part of the system. Like everything before is setting it up, getting everything sorted, getting, you know, all your ducks in a row. But then it's about consistently following these few steps that we're going to practice together that really accelerates your progress. It's important that you're clear on what that number one focus is, your current micro goal. So when I ask you, which I will sometimes, just to kind of test where everybody's at, I'll go, tell me what your number one financial focus is right now. That's what I'm talking about. What is your current micro goal? If I give you a spare $100, where's it going to go? Right? It goes to that. It goes to that because your planner should already have fun money built into it. It should already cover all your expenses. It should already do all of those things. So any money that's in addition, that's surplus to that, goes towards your current number one financial focus, your current micro goal. And that is the secret to really ticking those goals off really fast and making incredible progress and building momentum. That's why the hashtag for this module is momentum, because that's how you do it. All right. Hopefully you've all downloaded that. Let me share my entire messy looking screen. There we go. Oh, I might actually have the Zoom window in the way. This could freak itself out. Let's get this out of the way. Let me see. Yeah, good, because I want them side by side so you can see what I'm doing. So, worksheet. So this worksheet basically talks through everything I just said, and you might want to spend some time going through this again. So first thing, I didn't use this one's, I don't have one that's got the numbers filled in, doesn't matter. So we'll just make some numbers up. Let's say my business, we'll work on weekly numbers. Let's say my business needs, I'm just going to make some stuff up, $500 a week to run. I'm putting aside 20% of my gross income into my tax account, and I want my business to pay me $1,500 a week. Okay, so that's the first thing. So this will be based on all the numbers you've got up in your planner, and you'll tweak that depending on what's going on. So if you have done this as a first iteration just on your like base expenses and you go, oh, my business makes more than $2,500 a week, not a worry, then you can go, okay, well, I can put extra money up in here into this field that I showed you, extra funds for wealth creation. Like I know that I should have the capacity to put more than this towards whatever my current focus is. Let me know if this makes sense. I can't see you right now because I'm screen sharing and I've got, both these things open. So just let me know in the chat box. Hang on, let me move the chat box because otherwise I think it's in your way as well, to make sure that makes sense. Because this is important. So then that's it, right? That's, what your baseline number is. So let's assume we're going to go with the 2,500 and all the numbers above make sense. And so that's your planner. You've finished setting it up. So you are now at step T of that magnetic money process. You are now just once a week needing to spend 5 minutes going in here and going, right, how am I going? Let's smooth the cash flow. Let's distribute money to where it needs to go. And let's make sure that any spare money goes towards helping me really accelerate towards that priority. So I'm just going to give you where do we go? So on a week, say that again, Miriam. So we're finished with calculator 1. And all we're going to do each week is distribute our income. So let's say we have a $2,500 week. By some fluky miracle, we made exactly what our planner says is our target. So these numbers here, 20% tax, which is what I'm using in this example, that won't change unless you have a conversation with your accountant who says, oh, no, that's not quite appropriate for you for whatever reason, and you'll change it, right? Your business operating cost won't change unless your business operating costs change, right? So that number isn't going to change week to week. You won't have to go in here and keep updating it. And you want your business to pay you $1,500. So in this case, it's like, okay, I made $2,500. I know exactly what I need to do with it. $500 goes to my tax account. $500 stays in the business account. You don't have to do anything because it's already in there. And I'm paying myself $1,500, which usually we transfer straight to your bills account. And from there, you can have, transfers going out to like your cash fund money and so on. Now, I want you to always put in here, what is that current micro goal, right? So you can maybe just put $5,000 credit card in here, just as a reminder, because if you just made $3,000, you've got $400 extra. Where's it going to go? Tell me. Tell me. Where's the $400 going to go? And I'll answer your question in a second, Catherine, because it's a good question. Credit card, yay. Full marks for you. Okay, so Catherine asked a good question. So she's a developer, right? So it's like big outlay, big payday. So your expenses week to week are going to be different. So what you might need to do, there's different ways of handling this, but you might go, okay, I've got a pool of money and that's going to pay me for the next 3 months now. So you might do it a little bit more seasonal, where you pay yourself for the next period of time when you get paid. So you might actually do this maybe quarterly. The numbers won't change. Does that make sense? So that's probably the simplest way to do it. We can talk about it in a little bit more detail. I'll pop in some focus sessions for you guys next week as well. Better make myself a note. But that would be one of the simplest ways of handling it. And then you can just make a note and go, right, I'm distributing my income. We've had the big payday. I'm going to pay us now for the next X. And this is where it's important to have buffers as well, because you'll need to find a little bit of a rhythm with all of that. What else we got? Credit card. This can happen when you have lumpy income. Yep, exactly. It's the theory is still the same, exactly as Karen said. So that's the very short answer for you, Catherine. Now, if you have a shortfall, so say instead of the $2,500 that you're aiming for, you only made $2,000, then it's like, oh crap, I'm $1,500 short. So what happens here is two things. First of all, you have to make a note that I'm $400 short this time. And then you have to decide what's going to miss out. 3 options: your tax, your business operating account, or what you pay yourself. In this case, it actually equates exactly to what you're supposed to put aside for tax. And because tax is paid, quarterly or annually, that's usually an easy one to go, well, I'll just leave my tax account $400 short for now, but I have to make a note of it so that next time when I'm in surplus, I can bring it back up to where it should be. So what that means here is that you don't actually transfer the $400. That's a really important part because you're short $400. So you won't transfer the $400 tax. You'll just keep the $500 in your business account, don't have to do anything, and you'll pay yourself $1,500, right? That's your $2,000 taken care of. You don't actually have that $400, but you've made a note here, and then say the next week you make $3,000, you go, oh, I've got $400 surplus. What do you do with it this time? Let me know in the chat box. What do you do with the $400 this time? Yes. Thank you very much. Yep. Dorian Tamsin, it's a trap for young players. You actually have to pay this first. So if you've got a shortfall here, any surplus needs to go towards paying that back first, and then anything remaining goes to your number one priority. And that is how you smooth your cash flow. Ta-da! That's it. So if you've got surplus, shortfall needs to be paid back first. Any remaining surplus can then go to your number one priority. That's the important thing to remember. And that's all it takes. It's really, really easy. And that's why it's important to practice. So let me give you a couple of minutes to practice. Right? So I've got Betty's business here, and I'm going to put the numbers in. You've got this in front of you. So let me just put Betty's numbers in here for you. Sorry. Her calculator says, so that you can just copy it. She needs $330 to run her business. She's keeping 20% of gross aside for tax, and she needs to pay herself $717. Okay. So her income target is $1,308, $1,309. And right now, yep, she wants to pay back. Come on. I'm going to put numbers in here just to make it easy. So this is what she's aiming for each week. Now, I would like you to play with this in your calculator and just do this one. She's just received $1,800. So she hasn't made $1,309. She's made $1,800. So just take a moment to plug that into your calculator and see what the outcome is. Right. So, Silvana, I'm going to pick on you. So, Lena, I actually put the worksheet in the chat box so you can download it from there. And then it's also, next time you log into the members site, this is one of the worksheets from the boot camp. So the boot camp actually has 4 worksheets that break it all down for you, and 4 workshops that you can watch and play along with. Silvana, can I pick on you? I mean, can I ask for you to share your brilliance? Yes. No. Okay. Let's go with, Laura, can I get you to just talk about this one with me. Gives you a chance to practice if you want to unmute yourself for a moment. Hi.
Hi.
Cool. So with, are you able to do this at the moment? Have you got it open on your screen as well?
I do have it open, but mine didn't automatically calculate like yours did. So I was having to use a calculator. Is that normal?
Oh.
I was just using your page 6 of the workbook.
You're trying to do it in the workbook. No, you need to also open the calculator. And actually, yeah, the worksheet is just a PDF, so that doesn't have a calculator built in. But that's okay. Just you can see my calculator here on the screen.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So for Betty, who made $1,800 this week, can you just talk me through what you see happening here and what she would do?
Yes. So it looks like 1,800 came in. 20% is put aside for taxes at $360. 18% is for operating costs, $330. You don't need to do anything because the money's already in the account. And business pays me 40%, which equals $717. So that leaves us with it looks like a surplus of $393. So since it's a surplus and there's nothing in the shortfalls, it would go back to the micro goal of credit card.
Yeah, in her case, it's paying back her mum, but yes, perfect, absolutely perfect. Woohoo, full marks, smashed it. Awesome, thank you. That's so cool.
Thank you.
You've totally got it. Okay, so let me just quickly zip through the rest of these.
I just now saw it says payback mom.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
In my head, I was thinking like we were still talking about that credit card. I was still super focused on the credit card. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
It's not an issue. The most important thing is you understand the process. That you look down the bottom first of all. Is there surplus? Awesome. That means I can allocate all this money, and then the surplus. You did exactly the right thing. You checked that there was nothing owing from previous times below, so it can all go to that. So that's exactly the process. It's really simple, but sometimes it takes a little while for people to get their head around it. So that's why I want you to practice. So please use the worksheet that I gave you to keep practicing. I'm going to do it in front of you really quickly, just so that your brain's already seen it once. If you're going, oh, I'm still a bit lost, that's okay. That's why I'm giving you the worksheet, and you've got the calculator in your planner, or you can just use the quick and dirty one I gave you. Practice it. You want to practice it so when you do it for yourself, it's really easy. So I'll keep going through the examples, and then I'd like you to do it in your own time after. So the next week, Betty's only brought in $1,100, so she's actually short, right? So in case of shortfall, it means that she's going to have to make a note that, and she'll use her tax account again, that she's got $167 less available for tax than she should, which means she's not going to transfer the full $220 to her tax account. She's going to transfer $220 minus the $167 that she doesn't have right now. So that's what happens that week. And then if you scroll down to week 3 on the worksheet, it's like, because Betty's now going, oh, well, that's all right. I just owe my tax account $167. Let's see what happens. The next week, she only makes $900. So she's going, oh, okay, what do I do now? So just to make it simple so I don't have to do addition while I'm talking to you, she's now $327 short this time. So what's she going to do? She can put 180, she can pull 180 of it out of her tax. So I'll just pop it here separately. I won't bother adding it up. So 180 out of that 327, she can kind of get away with from the tax account. But then she's still got another 147 that she is short. 180 plus 147 makes up the 327 that she hasn't got. So then she might go, I might just keep my business short because I've actually got, a bit of a buffer in my business account, and it's only $150 and I don't have any major bills due. So she's doing that. Okay. So now she's carrying a bit more of a shortfall. But the important thing is she's made a note of it so she can smooth that out as soon as possible. So then the following week, she's gone, oh, finally, that person who kept dragging their heels on that invoice paid me. I've now got $633 spare. So now she can start paying all of this back, right? And once she's cleared all of this, then she can start putting that money towards her number one priority again. That's left after she's paid that. So basically, the moral of the story is always pay yourself back first before you start paying extra towards that number one priority. So that's really quick run through. I'd like you to practice it on your own, ideally straight after the call or as soon as possible, just so that while it's fresh in your mind, you kind of go through this process a few times. Once you become comfortable with it, you won't even need the calculator, although you do have to make sure you track any shortfall somewhere where you'll see it again the next time. Any quick questions on that? All good? Okay. There'll be some focus sessions if you need to drill down into anything. If you need a hand with your planner, we've got certified coaches who can do an audit with you or help you figure out any nitty-gritty details, like if you need really in-depth help. Just talk to them and find out what you think you might need. I'm going to very quickly put you into breakout groups, because what I'd like you to say out loud and share with everybody. Elena, you can come into a focus session. If you need, focus sessions will be available during the week. There's there'll be an event with the link up in the Facebook group. So you get to jump on a call, talk to me one-on-one. They're 15-minute sessions. There's also a link to them where you'll find the recordings of the calls. So if you go into the member site where the recordings of our calls are, is the support tab. I'll pop a post up in the group. I'll tag you. That's how you get support from me. So you get support from me in the Facebook group, on a group coaching call, or during focus sessions. I'll pop you into breakout groups right now, and I want you to share what your number one takeaway is from today and what your most important action step is going forward. And because we are almost at time, if you do need to leave, that's totally fine. Thank you for being with us today. So let me see. Oh God, I'm doing this a really slow way, sorry.
Miriam, Karen's
Yes, my
trying
love?
to get your attention.
Okay, well, I'm looking at another screen, so unmute yourself and let me know.
Sorry, I've got another call.
That's fine.
I have to go to. Sorry.
I will group people accordingly. See you later. Okay, that means I have to move them. Hang on, bear with me. So I'll put, hold on. Where's Jackie? Why can't I see Jackie on my screen? I really must not do this manually again. Takes way too long. Sorry, guys. Thank you for your patience. Let me open those rooms. So number one takeaway and most important action step. I know it wasn't much time. I'm sorry. We can't fit it all in. I hope that you got a chance to actually, even if you didn't get to fully share everything you wanted to share, that you got to reflect on what your biggest takeaway is from today, and that you're really clear on what your next step needs to be, whether you're someone who's been around for a while and you're like, I really need to buckle down and tidy things up and get back into it, or I just need to do a little bit of a polish, or I need to figure out where to get started. As long as you're clear on what your next step is and then actually take it, you'll be absolutely fine. So I'm just about to pop on some focus sessions for you this week. Jump on those if you want to have a chat with me. They'll be Wednesday morning and Thursday later in the day. The Thursday later in the day, if you're in Australia, if you can grab a Wednesday morning one, if you're wanting to grab one, preferably, then because the afternoon ones are always the only ones that people in European time zones can make. So I'm always trying to encourage the Australians to take the morning sessions wherever possible, which for the US is your afternoon sessions. That really helps those of us who are in Europe who can only watch replays of coaching calls as well, to at least get access to focus sessions whenever possible. So I will see you next week, 1 hour later. Anna Mason.
Quick question. The focus sessions, do you send them out in an email as well as just pin them at the top of the group?
No, I don't anymore.
Okay, there we go. Clarification.
I don't anymore. Because you're already getting reminder emails for calls and all the rest of it. But they're basically on every second week, and the link is always the same. And the link is in the members area right at the top. So where we have all the recordings, right at the top, there's a link that's for focus sessions. If you click on it and there's nothing available, it just means that the next set hasn't opened up yet, but it's always the same link. But I do always put an event up in the Facebook group, and usually I just click to invite everybody. Every now and then I don't. And to be honest, that's because I want to give other people a chance to jump on as well, because there are limited sessions available. And I just want to make sure that everybody gets a fair chance. So be on the lookout, jump on that link, and I'll see you all next week. Bye for now.